End of summer.
Is it really the end of summer though? It doesn't feel like it much outside.
Doesn't feel like it. No, definitely doesn't feel like it.
What, man? I'll tell you what. It's hotter than Hades. It is. It's raining every day here. I'm perpetually wet. That's it. I'm just moist. And I know people don't like the word moist, but I am always moist in Florida this time of year. I've been recently looking at houses up in Bar Harbor, Maine, and on the coast because I am trying to get out of this heat. Not really. I'm not leaving Florida. But us Floridians like to dream and think about what life would be like outside of the heat and humidity. So,
but not in the frigid cold of winter.
Yeah, we never make the move. I'm not making the move. I'm still here. All right, guys, what do we got on tap?
We got lots of things to talk about. I'm excited for our to be or not to be episode. But first, let's do a little bit of updates. We talked about it last week, a tiny bit. I got a webinar coming up with Investor Views on our new integration with smartphone on Tuesday. So you can register for that right here. It's a long link, but I'll leave it up there and you can copy it in. Apologies, I forgot to make a shorter one. But yeah, no, we've got a cool integration. Brandon's been using it. We got about, I don't have any Pellegrino. Actually, no, I got it ordered in today, but it's not cold yet, so I can't be drinking it.
Carlos is drinking tap water. Ban him from the fucking show.
I'm drinking some filter out of the fridge, just some not.
Ban him. You're not.
I have plenty of Pellegrino.
Water,
I have plenty of.
You don't flex.
Yeah, I have plenty of. I'm stocked up with Pellegrino and lime right in the fridge. I just didn't pour any out today, but I'll pop some out today.
All right.
I'll pop some bottles today.
Nice.
Smartphone webinar is going to be popping. Speaking of popping,
Yes.
popping. It is. It's a clutch thing. We could have a whole conversation on smartphone and VoIP. I've been using them for I don't know, 6 years, long before they got as fancy as they have, and highly recommend it. I think we talked about it a couple episodes ago, but it's the way to be, baby. Smartphone. Yeah. If you got your people using cell phones, you're on the Stone Age. Get on your VoIP, get everything registered. I was talking about it today on my call, how we got everything registered, which is a good and a bad thing. It means people notified when you're calling. Real Offers Cash is calling you, but it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, and if you're calling the right way, then it all works out well because you're not spamming. And yeah,
exactly. Yeah, 100%. We're not talking about using it as your cold calling tool, people.
It is not. Well, they have aspects of that, but they use separate numbers for that, and you don't cross numbers.
I don't recommend them for cold calling per se, especially at the volume we do. Yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely cool.
Definitely super excited for that. Got to be on I was telling Borger last night, actually.
That's right.
Got to hop on their all-team call 2 Fridays ago. Super smart team over there, and they're super excited to be working with us and vice versa. Yeah, big team. And I was laughing with John. I kind of walked into the smartphone meeting thinking I was going to have to show some back-end tech stuff, which is not my forte. Luckily, it was the opposite way around, where their dev team was showing me stuff, and I was like, good thing I'm not doing anything. Good thing I'm not doing any back-end dev stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that. It'll be good. Tune in. If you don't tune in, you can register, and if you don't show up, I'll send you the replay. So still register. But I heard a little bunny. Not a bunny. I don't know.
God.
Like a little bird. A little bird told me.
You're horrible at this shit, dude. That was horrible.
We're 26 episodes in, and I can't come up with a good transition. I heard you read a book, Mr. Brandin.
I want everyone to leave in the comments how horrible he is at trying to use anecdotes and analogies and metaphors, like all of them. Please, for the sake of our viewership, just stop.
I'm skilled.
Leave that up to me.
I'm skilled at some things, not skilled at others. That's okay with me. I know my skill set.
I'm gonna hop on over and give you a book review. I recently read Active Listening 2.0 by Steve Trang, and you all know I am an avid reader. Yes, we all have our ups and downs in our reading cycle, but I am Hey, leaders are readers, right? And as I've been really amping up my reading and trying to be a better coach, a better leader, right? Not just in sales, but operations. I feel like I'm a natural talent in sales, but I got to learn because I don't systemize. So, I've learned from people like John Martinez and stuff. And I've been watching Steve Trang's video and he keeps repping this book. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to get this book. Mm-hmm. And I got it. And I was quite intrigued. And I will say I was extremely disappointed in the book.
Oh,
I love Steve Trang and I am not knocking him down, but this book is subpar. That is my personal opinion of this book. One, it's not a book. It's fucking 80 pages. He should call it a pamphlet. It's a pamphlet. And I think he's trying too hard to be a sales coach. The problem is his gift and what his experience is talking to sellers in real estate, but he mixes his tenses and who his clientele is. So he's mixing between selling a widget or buying a house, and he needs to stick to one thing because all of his analogies he's hopping back and forth trying to be too much. Like his skill is talking to sellers. He should have wrote a book about active listening to sellers to buy a house, not talking about houses, talking about selling a product, talking about, because in sales, it's a misconception, right? Like everyone thinks you're selling something in sales. That's not true. For us in sales, we're actually buying. So we're more selling ourselves and our value than we are about a product per se, unless you want to argue that you are the product. And that's the problem is he bounces around in this book too much and he's not as coherent as he actually is when you listen to him or he talks. So I'm not knocking Steve Trang's skill. Obviously, I love Steve Trang. I've never personally met him. I watch a lot of his content. But I say this book could have been better. This pamphlet could have been better. I think if you write less than 100 pages, you stop calling it a book and start calling it a fucking pamphlet. So if you're going to go spend, what did I spend on this? $14.95. I suggest you spend $14.95 elsewhere. Send me the $14.95, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it, and I can keep some money.
Intriguing, interesting. It's we've talked about.
I know that wasn't the book review you were looking for, John. You all thought I was coming on here, and I was going to say some good shit like I normally do. So I fucking shock valued you.
No, I think we're here to be honest about our opinions. That's why we come on here and talk to each other every week. But I think it's interesting, when somebody's good at something, like talking to sellers and having a real estate company, it does not necessarily mean that they can transpose those ideas into a book.
He never truly, like, if you read the book, you'll understand, like, he uses some stories, but he never fully finishes his story and relates it back to how this applies. It just was a very empty type of book. Now, granted, there's a saying that somebody reads a book, the average person reads a book expecting to learn everything from that book and everything to teach them something, whereas the wealthy person, the millionaire, reads a book looking for one thing. I'm not going to say that you're not going to find your one thing. I thought there was a couple good tips in here. But the book as a total, or the pamphlet as a total, I thought could have been better written. But you know what? Who the fuck am I to talk? Because Steve Trang has a book. So when it all comes down to it, he's finished it and has it out there, and we're talking about him and his book. Mission accomplished. Well played, sir. Touche. Well played.
Heck of a good review there. Just the totality of the review there for the end game, but also the description and detail in there. I think it's a good possibility we could get Steve on here to talk about that book and a lot of other things.
You're gonna watch this episode and be like, "Who's this motherfucker?" I would go toe to toe with Steve Trang in a sales call. I feel like if you put me against Steve Trang on the phone with two different sellers, I bet you I would get voted over him. Head match, head to head, I would do
challenge extended.
Yeah. We've got better things to do, as do I. But I'm gonna slip something in though. This wasn't discussed pre-show, guys. This wasn't discussed pre-show, but I want to say we are T-minus 22 days to release of the #1 software for your operations, REI Ops Center, brainchild of John and I, where we are releasing a software that's going to take Excel out of your business, get your data out of Excel sheets, and it is only a few weeks away.
I know.
And we are excited.
And exciting.
We have officially, I'll announce it, shut down the Alpha team membership. So our initial program with all the bells and whistles is now shut down for good. All Alpha members are locked in, and that offer is no longer being valid. So for all those people who we demoed and either signed up, and then the ones that didn't, locked, and now we are moving on to a little something better called Bravo Team, and we're going to have that being released in 22 days for the release of our software. We're looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it.
I mean, fun time.
Love it. Can't wait.
Super pumped on that. I've been sending that. I have just in my holster pocket. I have a couple booking links for our Ops Center, and I have a short overview or demo from a few weeks back, maybe a month ago. So I've been firing those off a lot. Excited to get more people into that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. We'll have to update you on the Bravo Team membership and fill you in.
We'll talk about it once it's out. Yeah,
we'll do some sweet demos.
We'll display all the details. Yeah, we could even do a little demo on here for sure.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's get into our Shakespearean question of the week: to be or not to be. The leadership question.
I know that was actually a very good title. I don't know who came up with it. I think it was John, but somehow we brainstorm these things a couple times, and I always forget what's what. Now, we kind of pose this question, guys, because as a business changes, so does the person who starts the business.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that's needed is, I think let me backtrack and say there's a common misconception with we'll call it a leader and a producer, right? Or a hustler. In this industry, there are so many hustlers out there making money, and you can make money. You can make $1 million a year solo, hustling it out, and just everything's on your back. And you could do all the tasks. You can hit some big deals. You can have a bunch of rentals. You can get it done as a doer, aka what I call is like a hustler, right? And that's what that's the category that a lot of real estate people stay in, either I think out of fear or out of inability, right? To be able to transition. So, change happens in a business, and nothing good happens when you don't change, right? And nothing good can happen without change. So the thing is not only does your business change, but you as a person has to change into more of a leader. And it's something that's been weighing heavy on me, especially through this year, as we've hit a lot of our ceilings. You hit ceilings, whether it's revenue or deals or just, team members, and you're trying to figure out what you need to progress. And you have to look in the mirror and say, a lot of it has to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be the leader. And then you have to ask yourself the qualities, right? And so that's kind of why I posed this: to be or not to be. Like, do you have the qualities to be a leader, to run your real estate organization? I'm not going to say any other type of company because I don't have experience running an industrial company or anything like that. But when it comes to real estate, we have to deal with so many different types of personalities, right? We have to, all the way from the salesman, right? Whether it's commission or salary, the VAs overseas, the in-office admin, the project managers out in the field, whether you're dealing with contractors, cleaners, all of that requires you to either be, right, the doer of these things, the boss, the manager, or the leader. And I think there's unique differences between all of those categories. And I think sometimes we get stuck in between there. Am I making sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, we get stuck in these categories. And it's like, do you have what it takes to be that leader? And I think I'm going to make a bold statement. Now, before I make my statement, I do believe in the saying that great leaders are made, not born. Just like talent. I think you could be born with talent, but it takes you putting in the work every single day, right? What other people won't do to make that talent something long lasting that'll have an impact, which is why I believe right? Great leaders are made, because even if you have that ability in you, right, you have to hone it and build it. And not everyone either has that or wants to put the time in to do that. And that may not align with their life goals, which is why it's the question, to be or not to be. Do you want to? Do you have what it takes to be that leader, right? Are you going to be great at it?
Yeah. I think it's, I've always thought, or have been told and agree, that there are, different phases of business, and, the leader or the person in charge to go from, 0 to 100K, 0 to a million, 1 million to 10 million, 10 million to 100 million is different at every single stage of those. And, there's definitely like business schools out there, and there are people that train to be a CEO of like a large organization, and they work their way up a little bit and then eventually are able to do it. But for the most part, at least in real estate, right, everybody pretty much starts at the bottom at nothing. And I'm gonna cold call sellers, I've got to answer the phones, I've got to sell the properties, I've got to get the contracts, I've got to do all the marketing, and then they start growing and growing, and they'll bring in other people to help that. And it gets hard to start doing that transition. There's a lot of things that you have to change about yourself, about how you think about yourself, how you value yourself in the business, to progress through those changes. And I think you're right. Like, great leaders are not born; they're made.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like,
you have to put the years of experience into it, and you have to be completely conscious of that change and what it takes to do that change. And there's not a lot of examples out there of like people that do that kind of change. I think Zuckerberg is kind of the fun one to talk about, because he started out as just a nerd on a computer with an idea that maybe he stole from somebody else or didn't. The court documents don't let us know that. But and then to this day he's still the CEO of one of the largest tech companies on the planet. And I know a lot of coders, and he a lot of coders, like, they their personality doesn't make them great leaders. So I'm sure he had to go through a lot of change, a lot of internal kind of thought process. And there's been a lot of public conversations of, is he still the best leader for Facebook?
Well, they tried replacing him. Numerous times they said that he wasn't capable of leading that organization. I mean, look what happened with Google. Like, they stepped aside and put a C level, you know what I mean? They hired someone of experience. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's kind of skipping ahead. Another great example is a little story I'm going to tell you about a man named Nolan Ryan.
All right.
One of the greatest pitchers of all time. Now, Nolan Ryan was phenomenal. He had God, and he would even admit this. He said this when he was talking to a reporter one time, and they were asking him, and he said that he always had that God-given ability, and he would rely on his ability to throw the ball hard. It was said that he would even break the hands of his catcher because he would throw the ball so freaking hard. That a lot of times, because of this God-given ability, when he got into the major leagues, right, all through his youth, that gift carried him. But when he got into the major leagues, a lot of times he would get into trouble, and he would go back to that mindset because that's what he knew. And I'm paraphrasing now, but that's all he knew, was to throw hard. Yeah. And so he would go back to that God-given talent, that raw gift that he had, and he would throw hard. And it wasn't until later that when people would show him, or he would see that a lot of times going back to that gift, that untrained gift, it would be erratic. He'd be walking people all the time. And it wasn't necessarily, he was doing his best. He was trying hard. And that's when I think he said he realized that a lot of athletes, a lot of high performers get to where they're at on their hustle, right? Their God-given gift, but very few of them to make the commitment to take that gift and learn how to harness it to have a long career, to take that gift and learn how to, it's kind of like a superpower, right? We watched the movies a million times. The superhero has a gift, doesn't know how to use it, has to go into training. You learn to use that gift in the right way so they can do it for the good, to have that long career. And that's what Nolan Ryan did, and why he attests to the fact that he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, because he learned how to harness that gift and use it in the right way and learn that skill to be a great leader on the field and as his position too. So I thought that was a very interesting story. Is a lot of times for us, we learn that we need to hire people to replace us so we can go live the life that we want. And we expect our company to grow and continue to produce the same results when we step aside from those positions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as Nolan Ryan said, right, and even Zuckerberg, like you said, John, these people, I don't know much about Zuck, and I call him Zuck. I feel like we're on nickname basis. Zuck, I feel like he probably took a lot of time to hone in his skills so that way he wouldn't get replaced, just like Nolan Ryan learned how to hone his skills so he wasn't walking people all the time and going wild and erratic with his pitches. And same thing I'm trying to do this year. I made a pact to myself that I'd work on my leadership skills, how to lead and coach my team properly. And that's when you have to shift, right? That mindset of shifting to being about you and the task to being about the team and their success.
Love that. And I think that kind of breaks up into a couple of transitional periods. I've just kind of been thinking about it as we've been talking here. Like you go from that period where it's just you and maybe somebody else, and you're doing all the work and all of the decisions, right? And then you get to the part where you start to remove the work, but you are still doing the decision points. And the interesting part where leaders really start to kind of go is when they give their team the ability to make the decisions and do the work. And you're there guiding them through that process. And you make them almost independent leaders in their own right inside the organization, with you kind of on top of that. And it's just a lot of like time and work and to get there. But I think it'd be fun to talk about some of the mistakes that people kind of think, I'm doing this, that means I'm a leader.
Dude, just because you employ people, you're not a leader.
Right. Yeah. Just having employees does not mean you're a leader. What does having employees make you? And it's the easiest, right? A boss or a manager, right? So, hey, look.
So there's different things, right? So I was thinking about this, John, like, because we talked about this pre-show, and I was thinking about it, like, you can have a shift supervisor, right? You can have a manager, then you can have a boss, and then you have a leader. Shift supervisor, you're just making sure people show up on time and do their job. That's it. On your shift, you care about nothing else. The manager is managing the people, including the shift supervisors, make sure everyone's in the right seats, doing the right things, fixing any problems, right? The boss is there telling everybody what to do, making the orders, giving them the tasks and say, okay, manager, you have to do this, make sure this person does this, let's review these numbers. There's a lot of telling of what to do, but a leader doesn't do any of that. A leader is like a cheerleader, making sure everyone has what they need for the success of it. So a lot of times you get confused, and that's where I think the biggest mistake comes. For a lot of times for me, I think I was really in either the management role or the boss role, never really taking on that leadership role. Always telling people what to do. And oftentimes one of the biggest mistakes is not letting them do it and then just hopping in and doing it myself. Saying that I could get this done easier, I could get this done faster. So I think that's one of the early on mistakes that you make, and you have to step aside. And I was reading a book and someone said that you have to step aside. If somebody could do what you do 80% as well, then you need to let them do it. Simple as that. If they could do it 80% as well as you need to step aside and let them do it. And also, I would say the way you talk to people.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like, people have a habit of saying yeses to you, right? Like, hey, does that make sense? Yes, it does.
Yes.
And you get off a meeting and it doesn't make sense. So I've kind of shifted the way I've been talking to people. And instead of asking a question that requires like just a yes or no answer for people to default yes. What I've been doing in my team meetings and my management meetings is I go, I feel like I'm missing something here. Does anyone know what I'm missing? We cover everything? I feel like there's something we're missing. And then you just stop, and it gives anybody the ability right there openly, because they're not coming at you. They don't feel like now they're correcting the boss. They're just now saying, well, we need to talk about this, or we forgot this, or what about this? And you're like, good point. We forgot about that. And now you allow them that safe space to talk. Whereas before I'd be like, okay, I think we covered everything. Everyone good? And then and that was what I would do.
Yes. Yeah.
And they would be like, yep, good to go, boss. And I'd be like, okay, everyone have a good day. And ultimately, you're not getting the feedback, and you're not giving your people the chance. So those are little changes that I've been making this year, trying to be better at how I make my statements or my questions, how I phrase everything.
One thing that's coming up in thought for me is that as we're kind of leading off with mistakes, and this parallels with so many things for somebody that might be watching this and trying to learn from Brandon and John, great leaders. Never go into something being fearful of trying to be perfect, not making any mistakes. Like, this is Brandon trial and error now across multiple industries. One thing that I jokingly say, but I say it with a joking tone, but it's actually really serious in the context of identity, which you always have your core identity, but it's always evolving and changing, and you're adding and removing stuff, is I say he's a SaaS guy, or a software as a service guy now. 2-3 years ago, he was not having his real estate business at a certain place where he could also be a software founder and build a software company on the side. So you guys can't watch this of someone that's like Brandon or John that's running multiple companies and just try to be perfect about it. Like, be fine with making these mistakes at your own, but then you listen to an absorbed podcast. That's part of your identity. You're listening and absorbing podcasts to try to shortcut. Like, you could make the errors on yourself, but you could also learn them from people. So have that as kind of like a foundation thing. Do not worry about being perfect. That's something that all three of us have probably had in our life. It's like almost like walking on eggshells or trying to be absolutely perfect, where if we kind of just like mess things up and do it 80% right, like, it's way better than like being too cautious or overly pessimistic that something might not work out.
Hell yeah. I think that was very well said, and thank you. A wise man once said, dumb people don't learn from their mistakes. Smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people, they learn from everyone else's mistakes. So I'm just a smart person. I'm just learning from my mistakes. I'm a doer of things and figuring it out. So this is everyone's chance to be wise. Shift the way you talk to people. Try not to make as many yes and no's. And also make sure they have the tools. That's probably my other biggest mistake. I'm not going to name names, but there was, I regret a lot of things, and I know regret is bad. But as a leader, I look back and I remember I had somebody on my team, and this was when I was using Excel. We were dialing, no shit, listen, fuck you. We were dialing off of a landline hard phone with buttons on the
rotary phone?
No, the buttons. It was like a Bright House, like our cable provider brought in the phone, set everyone up with an extension, and we were, you hold the fucking wire, you know what I mean? Like, hold the cord. I had my team cold calling and closing start to finish, right? It was the wildest shit ever. Nobody would do that now. This was probably 7 years ago. I don't fucking know. And I didn't realize it then, but he had gifts, very talented salesperson, but it was the system I put him in. He had no script. There was no script. I had no script. Why? Because I'm all talent, baby. I don't need a script. That was what I used to tell myself. I don't need a script. Sales is all skill, baby. You hop on the phone, you fucking crushing it, talk the talk, walk the walk, silver tongue, I got it going. And then I try to teach people that, and I'm just talking at them. And ultimately failed, and he burned out, wasn't making money, wasn't getting sales, messing up all over the place on the phone to where I'm telling him he's doing shit wrong, doing it wrong. Moved him into another position, didn't work out, left. And hindsight's 2020, and I look back and I was like, damn, that kid had a lot of fucking skill. If I would have put him in my system today, he'd be a top earner in the industry. That's how much skill I think he would have on the phone. But it was my lack of leadership and my lack of learning, growth, because instead I was just like, well, this is what I did in my real estate brokerage to cold call sellers. I'll just do the same thing for my wholesale business. And I can think of that probably 2 other times in my organization where my tools have ultimately failed the person. My leadership and my growth has failed the person, not them failing me. But at the time, I thought they were failing me.
Yeah. That's a fun retrospect to have when you look at the situations that have occurred in your business. And at the time, you blame it externally on people, on situations. And then you look back and you're like, wait a minute. No, that was me.
Yeah. And you look back, John, but you have to understand as a leader, what most people don't understand is it's all on you. Your decisions affect people's lives. I look at that person's life and it's like, where would their life be if I would have been the person I needed to be that they counted on me for, right? And that's the difference between a leader and a boss. Like people look to a leader for that guidance, the comfort, right? And the experience. That's what they look. Are you going to take care of me? Are you going to provide me a good job? And are you going to teach me what I need to know to succeed and grow? And I didn't provide any of that. And that's what I think upsets me the most. Is not so much, oh, it was me, not him. Oh, I lost a good person. It was like, damn, I failed that person from my lack of leadership. Yeah. So that's kind of what I think of as one of my biggest mistakes.
I think too, a mistake that a lot of people do, I've done, is thinking that certain actions make you a leader. So like building processes, writing documentation, putting things in a project format so people can follow it. You would think, right, like automatically doing those things make you a leader, but it's quite the opposite. That's a manager at a minimum, maybe a boss, but you really have to start to think about the people and growing the people and what they need to be successful. And there are parts, right? They need processes, they need documentation. But if you were to just do that, hand it to somebody, walk away and be like, have a great time, that's not a leader at all.
No, doesn't mean that you can't do those things. It just means being a leader. Again, they need to be able to trust you. You need to be able to guide them, that you need to give them comfort and stability, right? Processes and onboarding and training, that all comes with the doing of the job, but not of giving of the vision. And what a real leader is moving the company forward. So there's 2 types of change. There's change in bad times and change in good times. People think that you only need to change and pivot when it's good time or when it's bad times, right? Oh, things are going wrong. We're not making enough money. The market's getting hard. We're in a recession. Need to pivot, need to change. But the problem is that's not true. And so that's how it used to be, right? I would implement something and just let it go, baby. That's what I said it is. That's how we're going to do things, right? But instead, it's actually the change in good times that progress your company is what I've learned. Because if you don't change things, and I don't mean revamp your whole organization, but if you're not pivoting and adjusting as a leader for good times, then your company becomes stagnant and then people get bored. They get in a lull, right? Your revenue just flatlines and you stop growing. So effectively change, a company is always transitioning. It's always changing. It's always evolving. Yeah.
So there's a difference. There's a difference for Brandin. I'll use a Godfather reference between a consigliere in good times or a wartime consigliere.
Fucking Godfather, best movie ever. I love that movie.
Wait,
I love Godfather 3, by the way. I know it doesn't get enough credit, but Godfather 3 was still phenomenal. Go ahead.
The Godfather. EWP Holdings, don't know who that is, but you have to do it hand in hand with ensuring that the processes you built are working and helping them succeed. That's right. Set it and forget it is not a leader.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of saying it. It's hand in hand. It's simultaneously You have to make sure that these processes that you've built are working, or adjust them, is what I think EWP is saying. And you adjust them while helping them succeed, because those tools are ultimately meant to help them succeed. But I think the greatest thing, right, the greatest mistake, right, is people think I need to concentrate on the doing, right, what needs done to help people succeed. But I think a leader shifts his mind, and where I'm at today is who can help my team succeed, in finding new people, new blood to come in, a new position, a new role, somebody that can help with the doing to help your people succeed. So I go back to that book, Who Not How, that I've been talking about because it changed my life like 3-4 weeks ago, is you can have these processes, but what about hiring a coach for your sales team, right? You can have a great sales team. What about a manager for your sales team, right? There's levels to it. At first, you don't need a manager. You need a great script.
Yep.
You need a sales process. So you write it because you're the doer, you're the boss, and you give it to them. And then you're like, okay, guys, here we're going to go. We're going to train. And then after a while, as entrepreneurs, you get bored with it.
Yep.
I'm going to raise my hand there. You're going to get bored with it. And then so you kind of fall off of it, and you're just like, they got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you need to hire another doer to give your team what they need to do those processes that you set forth. And that's where, when I hired a sales manager, and then I started doing the training, and that's when I hired someone to run my whole training program now. And now I'm training that person. And it's like you keep adding these layers of doers to help give your team what they need to succeed, because you need more who's to help the who's that you already have. Dr. Seuss.
But I think, and this is something that I deal with right now inside of Investor Fuse, is that it is very easy to think about hiring somebody to do work that you've already done, that you are good at, that you feel like you can have intelligent conversations with it. And I think what, the leadership element really comes into play is when you're like, all right, it's time to hire somebody that's going to do something for this organization that I've never tried, that I know would be beneficial. I know that we need. I know that it's going to help our team and our company grow. But then you have that internal conflict of like, well, how do you be a leader to somebody like that? Somebody that is more knowledgeable than you at a certain area. Let's say it's like marketing, pay-per-click ads, right? Like you may like hire somebody to do that internally, bring them into your team, and you have zero clue how to monitor that, how to assist them in that, how to help them grow and feel worthwhile in your business, in your organization, in their entire career path, and keeping those types of people motivated. Like that's the kind of level that I'm at. Like I'm starting to think, I need to be hiring like a marketing person, and I can be dangerous enough at marketing, but like it's one of my weakest areas. Yeah. And so if I'm going to bring in somebody who's going to be phenomenal at marketing, like who am I to be the leader of that person?
Well, that's it. You are the person. You are the right person to be a leader because you don't know. And what that allows you to do, John, is to ask great questions. Mm-hmm. And by asking great questions of people, right, especially people that you employ, you're able to allow them to think in profound ways. Profound questions require profound responses. And when you ask these profound things, they usually result in something profound in and of itself. A new idea, a new process, a new thinking, a new doing, a new implementation of a marketing stream or flow. So what I've learned, I read a book and he was explaining how when he got this job that he had less experience than everybody else. And he came in and he said he had two choices. He could have either acted like he knew everything and told everybody what to do, right? And he said, ultimately, if I did that, I would have lost all the respect. Nobody would have let me lead them because they all knew I was younger and I didn't have as much experience as them. So instead, he made the second choice. He came in and he asked great questions. And by doing that, people naturally, when you ask a question in the right way and you ask for help, we as humans love to help people so much and take people under our wings that the people that have been there for years prior to him were willing to help this person along. and explain things. So he would ask these profound questions where they would have to explain their thinking, their logic, the reason why it's worked, why they think it will work. And he would ask a simple question. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, he gained experience, he gained knowledge, and eventually he became the leader they needed. But he did so by them teaching him, all by asking, why? And I always use my son as an example because that motherfucker asked why 100,000 times. And he lies to me. He's like, Dad, I got one question for you. He'll say something and he'll ask me a question, I answer, and he goes, why? I'm like, that's 2 fucking questions. That's 2 questions you asked me, you little liar. And he just keeps asking why. But that's how people learn. That's how children learn. As parents, we hate it, right? It's like, why? I've already told you like 5 times why. Why? Why is that? Is that why? And that's essentially what he's saying. Why is the most profound question that you can ask somebody that you work with, because you're making them think. And by allowing them and making them think, they have to respond to you in a profound way. And then you say to yourself, okay, you learn, they learn. It's just like when you talk to people, have you ever noticed when you talk something out with people, new ideas come that you would have never had if you just talked to yourself? All because of why. Most profound question. That's boom. I'm writing that down. 2022. You heard it here. The most profound question you can ask anybody in your organization. Why?
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a key part. I mean, I wish I could map this out, but like, I think that transition, like, you can think about becoming a leader and even the doers that you have currently or going to hire. But until you get to that point where you're bringing in doers that are doing things you can't understand or not can't understand, because you've got, like, somebody's got to be the leader, right? Like, and so you get to the point where, how did we phrase this some way? I don't think I wrote it down, but, like, you could be a jack of all trades.
Oh, jack of all trades, but a master of none, but still better than a master of one. And that's what pisses me off about that saying, because everyone always says jack of all trades, master of none. And I'm a jack of all trades, so I call bullshit when they say that. And I go, yeah, but still better than a master of none, baby.
But, you know, you get to that point where, like, you are no longer, like, and for me at InvestFuse, I'm no longer the product guy, like the deep understanding of the product. And now it's like I have to start to expand at least what I'm knowledgeable enough. But I'm never going to be better than the people that I hire, but I can be the leader that they need and move the entire organization in a path, in a way that we need to get towards. And asking why.
Ask why
a billion times would be fun.
Yeah, I'm not great at anything. I'm, even whether you want to talk about the SaaS company or the real estate company, like, I'm not great at running a call center. I got it off the ground and then I hired someone phenomenal to do it, and she's better at me. We hire a QA. That wasn't my idea. I asked her what she needed. I said, what do you need to succeed? What can I do for you? And that's something that I've been asking a lot too when I get off my meetings. They say, what is it that I can do for you today to help you succeed? And they usually give me one thing, or they say nothing today, or they say, hey, you still owe me this, and I give it to them. But why is a great question to ask the people, and that's what it means as a jack of all trades. But jack of all trades, you have to ask.
Yeah.
Because you don't know everything.
It's great thinking exercise.
When you're
I've heard of that.
PDL is back, baby. PDL. I wish I knew this person's real fucking name. But PDL. There's a great thinking exercise where you go through 5 levels of why when trying to deep dive into a specific item. That's great, because one of our core values here, and I do it all the time, is why and how. Why did this happen and how did this happen? It's actually how we discovered gravity too. Everyone sees the apple fall. Only one person asked, why and how did that happen? And hence we got gravity. And that's the biggest thing, right? Thinking deep into it. I don't know what these 5 levels are, what this exercise is, but if you want to drop a link in the comment, I would love.
Oh, you just keep asking why.
Yeah, is that it? That's the 5.
Your son has been teaching it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, without me knowing, because he's going 6-7 deep. He's so deep. He's in the fucking basement.
God. But yeah, no, you just keep asking why, and the idea is that after asking why 5 times, you get to the deepest level. I mean, you could keep going, but the majority level or something like that of understanding something.
That's good. I don't know how many times I ask myself why, but how is another great question. It's another great question I ask of others and of myself, because how is such Adele so deep. Adele is rolling in it. John, put that one on the screen. That is good, AJ. That is good. Yeah, we're so deep. Adele is rolling in it.
That's funny.
How is another thing. How is something possible? How has this happened? It allows you to look retrospectively at things. How did that happen? Not just why did it happen, but how did it occur? How do we do something? Those are great things. Another mistake I wanted to touch on, because I know we're getting up to our hour here. One of the biggest mistakes that I've made, and I have made it recently.
Drinking tap water?
No, that's your mistake.
Oh, that's right.
I'm over here drinking Fritos. I got my mushroom coffee. I'm good to go, baby. I'm healthy. I am healthy. I'm losing weight too. That's why I wear black to be slimming. Makes me look good on camera. No, the mistake I make, and I've made it since the beginning of my business time. It sucks so bad to say it, but it's hard to let people go. I think one of the biggest fallacies in business is the saying, hire slow, fire fast. Bullshit. None of those is fucking true. Let someone come and tell me that, and let me see how you bootstrapped your fucking business. One, you don't hire slow. You wish you fucking can, but when you need someone to do something because you have customers calling and you need someone on the phone, or you have products that need to go out and you need to get them packaged or something, hiring slow is great in theory, but it doesn't always happen in practicality. And same with firing fast, especially when you get emotionally attached to somebody, which is why I've told my wife, we're stop calling our employees family and start referring to them as team members, because they're not family, but they are team members. One, I don't even, except for my mom, I love my mom, but the rest of my family, it's like, I don't always get along with. You know what I mean? Like family, they're blood, but do you really get along with your cousins and your brothers and your sisters? Do you want them to be your business partner? Is that what you want? So one of the things is we get emotionally attached, and I'm very prone to that because I always looked at them as family. And then when they're not performing, it's hard to let them go. So what have I done? And if there's any takeaway from today, I hope wise people out there do not do this. Do not move them to another position in your company hoping that's going to work out better. I've done that, a couple times. I moved one person 3 or 4 different positions. She sucked at it all. Nothing worked. It was a drag on the company, right? Yeah. Not only personality, I should have recognized it as a culture drag, but also of the position itself. It literally left each position in worse standing than when she went into that department. It was just like a tornado going through shit. But it let go of that person because I felt responsible as a leader, as a boss at that point. And then another thing is when you're moving them, you expect them to immediately be good at it, but they were already doing something else. So then you put them in, and it takes time for someone to be good, and you're not going to get those results right away.
Yeah.
And the thing is that person, they weren't good at the last job, and they didn't pick this one. You're moving them. You know what? I think you'll be great in this position. Hey, do you want to try out marketing? You don't really like sales. How about if we do marketing? Do you think that would be good? So that becomes the problem. If you're hiring people, I started moving people.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest mistakes. I had moved people successfully, not because I wanted to fire them, but because their skill set was obviously pointing to something else. Case in point, my data person. Great. So here's how I categorize it. He was greatly positive. We showed up on time, anticipated, right? He's not good doer of cold calling.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sent me his resume.
Yeah.
He was insanely talented in data analytics and all that stuff. I mean, he had shit on his resume I couldn't even understand. Put him in that position. He has propelled a business forward because I had him in the wrong seat. And that's like Jim Collins, Good to Great. Putting the people on the right seat, on the bus, helping them in the right direction. But notice how I said he was a great employee. He was a great personality. Always showed up on time, right? Never complained. He was all of those things you would want. He was in the wrong. Whereas the other people, shitty attitudes, always worrying about themselves and not the team, right? Not caring enough to get shit done, allowing mediocrity, right? And those are the people I moved into other departments, and I wondered why those departments subsequently also went down the drain.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good leader, though, is when you can recognize somebody is a good employee, but maybe they're not in the right seat. But yeah, to move somebody just for the sake of trying to make it work because you're afraid to fire them or you like them or whatever, yeah. Bad consequences from that.
Yeah, exactly. Carlos, we're having a request that you smile.
Who said that?
Bro, can't you read the comments? Our man
Steven.
No. Steven wants you to smile. You know what? I agree. You know, in our post show, guys, we always say, Carlos, why aren't you talking more? Why aren't you smiling? And he's like, I'm just letting you guys talk.
Not necessarily, man. I am a
deep thinker.
To the book review that you weren't too fond on, man. I'm a very active listener. That's almost my communication style, is very active listening. I feel like I get really caught into what people are saying and let people finish their thoughts. I appreciate it. Steven, I'm always smiling on the inside, but I'm just wrapped up in this good conversation.
Oh man. All right, well, let's wrap it up for our viewers here in a little bit of like advice of how do you become a leader, because we talked all about what leaders aren't, how they've got to change. And that's the thing. I think it's a journey for everybody. Like we mentioned at the beginning, right? Like great leaders are built. I'm going to let Carlos talk about the first part, which is reflection, because it's something that he's amazing at in his life and how he exists as a human being. But, that's how we started this conversation. When we talk about an episode, we're like, we are all kind of collectively reflecting a little bit. A quarter, you're in the last month of a quarter, you're thinking about how things are going and where the problems might lie. But yeah, Carlos, do you have some hints for people on just like how can they better reflect on this and be aware?
Yeah, I mean, in general, setting any type of rhythm up to what you're going to do, self-reflecting. If you have any of the like Panda Planner, Full Focus Planner, anything like that, those are like a weekly schedule you put in. I do those Friday morning, where in short, you pretty much like analyze the week, whatever you set out to do, what came up. There's always a blizzard of activity that comes in, during the day that may be hard to manage, but typically you can bookend your mornings, nights, kind of put things in place. A lot of the times we know what to do, guys. You're listening to podcasts. Steven, I remember him from the Fire Yourself Challenges a couple years ago. You're always absorbing information. You kind of have an idea of what you should do, but it's good to reflect on like how well you were able to do that, what kind of thoughts you had going on, just anything that you're able to kind of study, because at the end of the day, humans are animals, but we're the only animals that can self-reflect. That's like the main thing that sets us apart from every other species in the world. You don't think so?
I just feel like, I'm not going to argue with you. I just feel how are you going to know? Inside the brain. I love when people say these things. They're like, when a cat blinks, it means it loves you. How the fuck do you know that? Like, were you a cat in a past life? So I'm over here, no shit. I used to blink at my fucking cat. I'm like, I fucking love you. And the cat's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy. I'm like, this is what another human told me that you like to show you that I love you. And
maybe it does.
Like, okay, dude.
Maybe it does.
I don't know.
I think too, that's an important part. Like the reflection, though, it takes you out of the doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like working on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah,
it's at the high level for your own operating system. Same exact thing.
Studies suggest. Hey, quick tip: if you ever hear me say I've read an article, AJ, there's usually no article. It's my own thought I'm trying to pass off as professional. Or I do this all the time. I'm giving you my secrets. A wise man once said, guess who that wise man is? I'm just trying to preface it in a way that you're not going to call bullshit on me. Studies suggest. Listen, I read an article the other day that I agree with everything you said. I think it does come down to reflection. I think another thing is, and you got to become the leader first. You have to believe yourself as a leader for a couple reasons. One, it's your mindset. It's if you don't believe that you're going to be the leader, your people aren't going to believe you either. So you got to become that person. And I wanted to spend more time on it, but as we're kind of running out of time here, it's just something that I heard somebody say once that I kind of answer to all the time now. And it's, I want to meet the Brandin that runs $100 million company. I would like to sit down and have a conversation with that Brandin and see what qualities he has. How does he talk? How does he dress? How does he carry himself? What type of questions does he ask? Because that's ultimately who I have to become. So I need to envision who that Brandin is and then ask myself, am what I doing in line with who I believe that Brandin is going to be or needs to be to run or operate at that level? And I think Alex Hermosi said it great in a video that Carlos sent in our personal chats about being, right? What would a billionaire do? And he said he lives by these things of like, if I take this action or if I do or say this thing, is that what a billionaire would do? If not, I'm not going to do it. If so, I'm going to do that because now I'm living on my path of being who I need to be. And he wants to be a billionaire, right? Or whatever it is you identify with. Case in point, he used what would Jesus do as an example. You want to be a good Christian, you need to be a good Christian. Who's a better example of that than obviously in that religion, Jesus? And that's why everyone walks around with their WWJD bracelets. So I think those are big things, is being. Another thing, and I'm going to say it, you don't got to be a fucking leader.
Yep.
You don't have to be. To run a business, you don't have to be. You could hire somebody who's a better leader, more charismatic, who likes people or likes coaching and helping people. You could partner, right? You could partner with somebody, hire somebody, or maybe you just want to be the doer. And you could go work with somebody for ownership in the business, a percentage, kind of like partnering, and you can go work for someone and do great work, right?
Yeah.
So those are the options that I think you just have to define what it is that you want, because I will say this. And although I don't lead a very big organization, a lot of people get into real estate for freedom. I don't think a leader is ever truly free, because a leader is here to serve. And in servitude, you cannot be free of the needs of the people that you're serving.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people get the two confused. They think they could be a leader and serve and go out and be on the beach or go on vacation or retire by the time you're 30, 33, 35. That's not being a leader. That's you. You started a business, you hired people, you stepped out. That doesn't make you a leader. And that's okay too. You just need to identify and put a leader in place to run your organization then. Whatever it is, you just need to stay true to what your goals are. That's my few steps.
I agree as well. And the last thing I wanted to add to that is, I hate the word study, but that's the only word that's coming to mind, is you don't know what you don't know. And be out there learning, right? And
leaders are readers.
Yeah, listen to podcasts, read books. So, hey, quick round. Any book suggestions related to this topic? We've talked about one which I have purchased, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name.
John Maxwell.
John Maxwell. Great leaders ask great questions.
I have that landing tomorrow.
Yeah,
I've been reading that
great.
this week.
Jim Collins.
Yep, that's another good one.
A great one. Another one that is not necessarily a leadership book, but it is what is that? Tim Grover, Winning, because he talks about how to win. Like, he refers back to Kobe and Michael, but they were leaders of their team, and some of the stuff they had to go through to be leaders, basically putting themselves, leading from the front. Yeah, those are great things right there.
You got any book recommendations, Carlos?
I like those. I mean, Who Not How and is a great one. Papa P's been high on, and just kind of like what's been coming up in thought this episode is kind of a short synopsis of what to do. There it is. so much of it is that conversation, like the quick applicable exercise you could even do this afternoon if you're hanging out watching this, is really sitting down and thinking of like who's the end person of what you want to be, really sitting down and thinking about what type of stuff that they would do, and then put in some type of rhythm to analyzing and reflecting on how well were you being that person. So Papa P, to give a short example of that, he's been reading a lot of leadership books this year because he said his focus for this year is trying to become a better leader. What type of books would a leader read? Who, not how. So that's like a short exit. Steven's on. I have the comments up now. But it's small things like that. And I think when you're able to, don't worry about being perfect, worry about more so the systems and processes that you have in place to reflect on kind of like your own performance on doing that type of stuff. And that could be huge for you guys.
Yep. Reading. It's the key, man. You're only going to invest in yourself to the extent that you believe of the leader that you are. If you believe you're only 5 out of 10 leader, you're only going to invest in yourself to level 5.
Yep.
So you got to believe that. And it's something we all struggle with. So let's wrap it up for the week, kids.
That's right.
Let's wrap it up. Carlos.
Quick pulse. Quick pulse. Wrap for me.
What do you got going on, bro? Aren't you heading down south? Well, you are south, but yeah.
I'm heading a little bit north. It's in Hollywood or Fort Lauderdale area from Miami. So if you guys are at the Scale and Escape this weekend, Ed Milet speaking tomorrow morning. Super, super pumped to see him. If you are in the building, already know a bunch of Investor Fuse people that are going to be there. Definitely come say what's up. So I'll be there this weekend. And then John has the other pulse of the week for us.
My queen died.
Wait. Stop. Did anybody else not know that John is actually English? Jelly, good chap. He likes his fish and chips. That's my English accent.
My shepherd's pie and my Yorkshire puds. All of it.
I did not know this. He's a redcoat, as Carlos put it. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm gonna drink.
It's all right. I moved here when I was 5. I'm practically a Floridian and a citizen. Just an immigrant. It's all good.
As we all are at some point. As we all are. Yeah, his queen died.
His queen died. It's fine. Whatever.
Can I? I'm just going to say something here.
Fire it off, dude.
Her son. Son's
old.
now king and is old as fuck. How much do you think this motherfucker was sitting here going, will this bitch ever die?
That's what I thought for years. Like when is it going to be my turn?
Yeah,
I'm going to die before this lady
kicks
the dust.
The guy is probably so excited that he's king. He's been waiting for his mom to die. She's 96 years old and finally kicked the bucket. He probably at some point was like, this is never going to fucking happen. Anybody looking into whether he actually killed the queen or not? Like, is this a Game of Thrones style move where he was just fed up with this? He's like, I'm going to die soon. I need to kill this old lady so I can step in and get a little bit of the good stuff.
It's funny. The monarchy in general is pretty funny. Real estate, like, I went down a little rabbit hole yesterday because she died at, what is it, Blackwell or something? Can't remember the name right now a second. That's privately owned by the monarchy. Privately owned. It's not in their public estate that is related to the crown and the public owns. It's like privately owned by the line, the succession. Like, these people are way richer than I thought they were.
Did you know that we did an episode 2 months ago, about Bill Gates being the largest landowner?
Yeah.
Did you know that the Queen is actually the largest landowner? She owns 16.67% of all the Earth's land.
That's insane. That's
and
maybe the most insane that I've heard on this show.
Personally, or you're just saying like through the Commonwealth?
I cannot back. I've not done my research as we were researching.
Studies suggest.
Studies suggest a wise man once said that the Queen owns 16.67%. And I need to go research this a little more because I was like, holy. But I believe it. I believed it to the point of the reason why is because of their lineage because these people, they're not like us.
No.
Like one of the biggest problems I think with our society as Americans is we all believe it's ours individually.
Right.
I make my money, I get rid of it, I make my money. The Queen, her family is passed on for hundreds of years. So when I read that, I'm like, well, that makes sense, probably because they inherited all this land back when people were robbing and killing. And that was someone's comment in the comment section, like, well, she probably killed people and stole it all. I'm like, guess what? 500 years ago, that's what you did to get land.
Yeah,
you killed people, pillaged them, and took their land and said, this is not mine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Queen Victoria, man, did she do some crazy shit?
Yeah. Right? Is she in the line? Is this the same family?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Netflix out about the Queen. It's called The Crown.
I've not watched it, but
I've not watched it either.
Love it, as do other Americans. Love it. The situation for the Crown and its people is like baffling to me. Like I go to Publix and it's like every week there's like talking about the princes and princesses and just like, why do you people care so much? Like obviously these magazines are printing them for some reason.
We don't have royalty here, man. Like
I feel like it's like gotten so much more in the past, I would say 5 years. I feel like there's more and more of it. Which is
I am trying to find a way to become king of my own land. So when I figure that out, like, you know, like Larry Ellison, CEO of Oracle, he owns like 90% of an island out in Hawaii where he owns all the people. He's basically king of that island. He controls the retail stores. He owns everything. They have to pay him rent. He makes the rules. He employs them. He does everything. He is the king of that island. And I was thinking to myself, this guy figured it out. This fucking guy figured out the secret for an American to become king. He's just humble enough not to call himself king. I would have sat up there on a throne calling myself King Pedersen. Within 2 minutes of purchasing it, I would have had a chair made and I'd be on the tallest hill. Come to me, my people.
Come pay a tribute to your new monarch.
Pay tribute.
Hilarious stuff. Maybe we should do an episode on the real estate of the monarchs. We could like explore all of them.
Yeah, I bet you they own some stuff in the U.S. I'm going to give them ready? For all of you guys, this is a question I get asked a lot. What is the hottest list to buy? Well, it's inheritance. And if I were you, I would go skip trace the queen and her family because they just inherited 16.67% of the land and earth. And somebody might want to sell it. So who can cold call the queen's family fast enough and skip trace all the land that they own in America so we can start buying it wholesale? Now is the time to pray, people. Let's pray on those recently deceased. You're not a real estate wholesaler if you don't.
And with that, have a great week, everybody. Go call up the queens, descendants.
Who can buy the most queen's land? Let's go.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you here next week. Same time, same place.
Peace.
Rock and load. Brandin out.